Welcome to the Big Sis Little Sis podcast. I'm Elle.
And I'm Ruby.
And we're two ethnic sisters here to talk about all things culture, feminism, and business.
Join us for weekly unfiltered and unapologetically female opinions and join in on the conversation. Hello everybody, you're with Ruby and Elle here for the very first and very exciting episode of the Big Sis Little Sis podcast.
Yes, we're so excited to be here.
So, Elle,
Yes.
can you tell us a little bit more about the Big Sis Little Sis podcast and what sort of topics we're going to be covering?
Okay, this is why we're so excited, because we are tapping into areas that nobody's really tapping into or talking about. So we just want to discuss all the issues that go around feminism within the ethnic community, or the lack of feminism, let me say, within the ethnic community. Also just about life, my journey, your journey, and business.
Yeah, I think so as well. But I think for our listeners to have a better understanding about us, let's tell you guys a little bit more about us and who we are. So I'll go first. I'm Ruby. I'm 27 and I am married. I have been for about 3 years now. I have one little baby kitty cat and I have a long background in science and sales as a profession. I'm a full-time pharmaceutical rep as well as a business owner. And I'm a bit of a micro-influencer, if I don't say so myself. I am a very proud feminist and I'm also a bit of a chameleon. I love channeling my emotions and my mood into my appearance. So you guys will see me on some days, if you watch our videos, in wigs. Some days I'll be in overalls. Some days I'll be in my Gucci. So today's vibe, very casual. It's warm here in Brisbane.
Hi, my name is Elle. I'm 34 years old, soon to be 35, which I'm really excited about. We're going to have a big party this year, aren't we, Ruby?
The biggest party.
A yacht party. I'm a creative, extroverted entrepreneur with a marketing background. Studied marketing at Swinburne University in Melbourne. Now running my own show and absolutely loving it. So I think I'm one of the lucky ones out there who get to do what they love for a living. Mother of 2 boys, 6 and 8, absolute cuties. I'm not just saying that because they're my kids, but they really are cute.
Yeah, they're really sweet, but can be very cheeky.
Oh, 2 boys, you do get a lot of rolling around and bouncing off walls. I'm newly separated from a 12-year marriage, so I'm really hoping that this podcast can, and my journey, basically, my experience can help other women out there who are experiencing a similar thing.
Yes, we want to empower you guys. Which brings us to today's topic. So this is sort of, talking about feminism in the ethnic community and where it all starts. And it really starts with something called the Ovarian Lottery.
Yes.
So what is the Ovarian Lottery? It's basically how your life is predetermined by the woman that you're born out of, essentially, and where you're born into.
Exactly, the postcode you're born into.
Exactly. So on that note, let's talk about some of the things that were pre-selected for us, Elle, because we have the same mum. We grew up in the same house, basically.
Yes, we are sisters, for those who didn't catch that.
Yes. We don't look very similar, but we act very similar.
Except there's what, a 7-year age difference?
8 years.
8 years. Well, it's kind of like 7.5, excuse me.
Oh, I'm trying to make yourself younger, are you?
No, I'm 34.
Trying to hold on to your youth, are you?
And proud, thank you very much.
So, some of the similarities that we share because we were born into the same household. So we were both born female, obviously. We were born into a low socioeconomic postcode. We were born and raised into Coolaroo 3048. We were born into a...
Not so loud and proud in that one.
No, just quietly, yeah, Coolaroo. Not very cool, unfortunately. No. And we were both born into a Turkish Islamic immigrant household, so we're first generation Turkish Australians. But I guess on the flip side, we were born in Australia, so we have some advantages there, which is nice.
Which is nice.
So all of these details, all of these factors which we could not control have determined exactly how our starting, our life began, essentially, and what favours we were given to help succeed in life.
Yes, and basically, I mean, look, reality is it's true. The postcode you are born in determines how your life will generally be, unless you find a way out.
Find a way out. She found a way out.
I found a way out.
Yeah, we call that marriage.
Yeah. See, and that is one of the issues that we do want to discuss, that unfortunately it is what it is. And in the community, you know, you do get married so young, and you're expected to get married so young. And call it love, call it an escape, but it is what it is.
Exactly. And look, some people don't necessarily have to escape it, and that's okay. But I guess it's just about being aware of what circumstances you had, which unfortunately determine what your outcome is. I mean, we do not have the same luxuries that a child born into Turak has.
Oh, definitely.
That's just how it goes. And so, you know, it's about comparing yourself to other people, because basically the advantages that other people have are not determined by how hard they work or, you know, how smart they are. It's entirely about what situation they're put in. Not everyone can be a Steve Jobs and start from scratch and become a billionaire.
No, and it's like, I think schooling plays huge here. The school you go to, I mean, look, of course, there are those minorities that, you know, become
Steve Jobs.
Steve Jobs.
That's it. It's the Facebook guy. What's it? Mark Zuckerberg.
You know, went to a, you know, not so great school, but we're talking about the majority here. And reality is, I mean, what was the school around us that everybody seemed to go to in our postcode? Was it Upfield?
So we had Upfield. I went to Pascal Girls.
Well, you know, that was okay. In my time, that was okay. That's the school I went to also. And that was a half-hour drive. So I think my mum tried a bit to kind of get us out of the postcode. And I did definitely see the benefits of that. But going back to, you know, the graduates from Upfield, where are they now?
Should we have an episode of where are
they now? And I'm not saying that to, you know, I'm not saying that to
belittle people. No, not at all. Because the facts are, the circumstances dictate where you're going to be in life. The term Ovarian Lottery was coined by this guy named Warren Buffett, who's this, you know, white male, you know, extremely rich American investor. But it's interesting because he had some self-awareness, and what he said essentially is, if I had been a female, I would not have been where I am today. And he said this because he had sisters who did not get to have the same experiences that he had. They were, you know, guided by their community back in the 50s and 60s to become teachers and nurses and do these more feminine roles, and this is what's suitable for you because you're a carer and, you know, you're a mother, and these are the sorts of career paths that women should have. And it really resonated with me because when I looked around in my community, the Turkish community in Melbourne, around me so often I was seeing a lot of teachers and nurses. And I'm not saying it's not a respectable career. No. It's one of the hardest things to be a teacher and be successful, as well as nurses. They can be so disregarded sometimes. But I just find it so interesting because I know what the community is like, having been raised in it myself. And I know that women tend to be guided into these career paths. Why are we being stopped in our tracks and given such a few select options of teacher, nurse, carer?
Interesting though, Ruby. How do the Turkish men feel about being with a highly successful Turkish woman? So that's another thing that actually we could be discussing, you know, because they're like, oh yeah, teacher, nurse, great, because, you know, he's, I don't know, financial advisor, or he's a company director, or I don't know, something rather. But how do the men in the community, actually this is something that we can discuss with the men in the community perhaps, feel about dating or marrying somebody who is a highly successful Turkish woman?
Yeah, I would have to say, having known many Turkish men, that it's got to do with, it's a cultural thing, and it's about a traditional family outlook and who's the breadwinner and who's the man of the house. And so I think, you know, I'm thinking about my own brother who might be quite uncomfortable.
Sorry, Mel.
With a woman being the breadwinner.
Yeah.
And that's, look, it's a hard pill to swallow for them, but the reality is that we're equals and we have a brain and we can earn more money sometimes.
And this is what the word feminism literally means. Equality between a man and a woman. And it's not about, hairy armpits and man-hating, man-bashing women. It's not. It's about equality. And I'm so sorry, my friend, if you believe in equality between a man and a woman, you are a feminist.
The other thing I was going to say is, another factor that the Ovarian Lottery determines is your dating pool.
Oh my God, the dating pool.
The dating
It's
pool.
like, hang on, stop. Are you Turkish? Tick. Okay. Are you Muslim? Tick. Okay. And then you go through, before you can even think, do you have a good heart? Are you a good person? Do you treat me right? Do we click? Like, do we get along? Hang on, wait, you've got to filter through all this first. And then I need to see if we click. And then we can see if it's working. So I think it's crazy and it is so hard.
Absolutely. And I think it's interesting because, most of the community congregates in a certain few suburbs. So, I mean, if you're out there listening to this, raise your hand if you met your partner within 20 kilometres of where you live, because I did.
Sorry, I didn't.
You didn't. That's okay. You can be the exception. And it's really frustrating as well, because I know this was an experience that we both had, is, coming from quite a strict Islamic household, as soon as you met somebody who you thought might be suitable as a partner because they tick all the checks, they tick all the boxes.
So you've got what, like
so
6 months?
You've already pre-screened this person and they fit the list of what you need. You've now told your family, okay, I've met somebody.
And then the pressure,
the deadline.
when are you going to get engaged?
When is your engagement? When is your wedding?
And I went through that at 18.
18.
So unnecessary. It's like, I'm 18.
Yeah.
I don't even know what I want to do with my life. But all of a sudden I'm with somebody and all of a sudden I have to be engaged.
Exactly. And you're not the same person you are.
No.
I was not the same. I'm not the same person I was at 18. God,
No,
imagine I was.
I was a baby. Just,
I know.
you're just kind of starting out in life. And we went to a girls' school.
Ooh,
So it was like we're at uni all of a sudden and there's like boys.
Eyes wide open.
You're like, so you can be friends with guys as well. It's insane. It was crazy.
Yeah. So imagine this, just for perspective, you guys, think about it like this. You went to a girls' school your entire life, from year 7 to year 12. You're now 18. You're at the peak of your puberty and you are thrown into a world of men and you do not know what to do with yourself.
And you only have a few years, Ruby, because they're limited and they want them young.
Oh, yeah.
You have a few years. It's the pressure, the cultural pressure to literally find yourself a soulmate or, a partner, a husband.
Absolutely.
And you're just trained to be on the hunt.
Yep. And, once you meet that special someone, you have 12 months or less to get married, because if you have premarital sex, it's all over for you.
You're ruined. You're destroyed.
That's it.
That's a no-go
Damaged
zone.
goods.
Yeah, damaged goods, apparently. That's what I've heard some men say about it, and it's disgusting.
And I'm sure a lot of you girls out there agree. And this is not just a Turkish thing. This is across the board in terms of culture. Unfortunately,
Lebanese and all sorts of other nationalities, they go through the same thing.
And it's this whole mentality about, women stay pure, marry the first guy you date, but men, okay, don't come home too late, okay, but have fun.
And just don't make sure she's not pregnant.
Just don't get her pregnant. Enjoy yourself, and then we'll find you a nice.
I know. I think the trend was they were having fun with the non-Turkish girls, and then once they were ready to
once
settle
they're ready,
down, they're like, oh, I think I'll look for a good Turkish girl now who is pure.
A good girl who's pure and ready to be my
preferably
my slave,
preferably a nurse or a teacher.
Oh, perfect! Someone who can cook and clean and look after children and do everything at my beck and call.
Exactly. So this is what is happening out there. And it was funny, I was actually telling my Australian friends, and they were shocked. They're like, but what do you mean? I'm like, this is what's been happening. They're like, this is so different. Kind of people don't even get married nowadays.
I know.
And they just have kids and that's the norm. And one of my friends was actually the exception, where she got married before she had children. She was like, my family was quite proud of me for getting married before I had children. I'm like, oh, wow.
We're like, wow.
Wow, it's just so different.
The things we do to get pride from our parents.
I know.
Yeah, it's really sad. And look, these are some of the really big issues, which, we can laugh about it, but it's a problem. We have to just sort of stop reflect and make sure that we don't continue the cycle.
No. And that's why we just want awareness. Awareness. That is why we're doing this. We want you to actually think about this problem and, maybe it could change.
It might, because look, the reality is when you're young and you're pressured into getting married so young, the likelihood of you, sticking out in that marriage is pretty low. I mean, there's so many people I know who get divorced within, 2, 3, 4 years.
See, my generation, I don't know anyone. Like, it's not that common. Oh, maybe a few. It's not common because in our generation, divorce is just a no-go zone. I mean, it's like, what do you mean divorce? You have children.
Yeah. You're taught to put up with it.
Exactly. So it's like, no. It doesn't, as long as he's not hitting you, cheating on you, gambling, or on drugs. I think that's the 4 kind of
pillars of divorce.
You stick it out. Doesn't matter if he's a narcissist. Doesn't matter if you've been emotionally abused. It doesn't matter what's been going on. You stick it out.
Yeah. It's quite different to my generation.
Yeah. So I think I'm actually interested to see what the new generation is like.
We're definitely less tolerant, I would say.
Or even like the younger generation now, the 18, 19-year-olds and what they're going through.
Yep. I don't know. It's I don't know too many 18, 19-year-olds, but
hit us up if you're 18, 19 and tell us all about the cultural pressures you're experiencing.
Yes.
Because we want to know.
And if it's changed. Because
if there is change, yeah.
I'm thinking that, perhaps the 18 and younger crowd, maybe not a first generation anymore. There might be second generation now.
True.
So this is probably where the tolerance and the acceptance of, more Australian habits is coming in. If you're a first generation, whether you're my age or Elle's age, you're going to definitely be experiencing some of the things that we went through.
But interestingly enough, Ruby, see, I lived in Turkey for 5 years. It's not like it is here. It is different. For starters, you're like forbidden to get married if you haven't graduated from university. Whereas here, I know so many people who were getting married while they were studying.
Yep.
It's a no-go zone. You have to be married. You have to have a job. And only then, after many, many years of dating, were you allowed to get married. And that's just the way it was. So at first I was very surprised by this. And parents were quite comfortable. It could be because I'm from the west end of Turkey. Or we are from the west end of Turkey. Sorry about it because I live there. I don't know how it is on the other end of Turkey, but that's how it was. And parents knew, especially mothers, maybe they kind of didn't tell the dads, but, and these youngsters were going on holidays with their partners. And that was fine. Whereas I'm thinking, imagine doing that in Australia.
Oh my God.
Being a Turkish person living in Australia, it's just that 1970s mentality that they brought down with them. They just hung on to it because they were so afraid. They were so afraid of, losing the culture and losing the religion. So they couldn't let go and they couldn't grow.
But it's interesting because you moved here. Like, what did you expect?
I remember how it's going. Go back to Turkey then.
I know.
If you're not going to adapt, then go back to Turkey. But then they've adapted as well. So I'm like, you're screwed.
They're stuff. I mean, they're in between. They're in limbo.
That they definitely are in limbo. But no, So I think definitely the new generation will be a lot different. But just like the women out there now, my age, your age, you don't have to be pressured anymore. No. So it's okay to live your life the way you choose to live it.
Yep, exactly. And look, I understand where a lot of people, have reservations about doing that because it's about, disappointing family and what are they going to say. But honestly, one thing we've learned, I think, by pushing our boundaries quite a bit in the family is they love you regardless. Yeah. You have an argument and they love you regardless.
They're your family. And no matter what you do, I mean, I could do the worst and I know my mum will still be there for me, have my back. Yeah. So I think, but then we're kind of basing that on our family ultimately. But hey, you're a grown-ass woman.
You're a grown-ass woman, girl. You do it. You do what you want to do.
Exactly. I remember when I separated and my dad did the Turkish Man thing. And it was like, come to Melbourne now. And I was like, excuse me? I'm sorry. I'm a grown-ass woman. Why am I coming to Melbourne for what? I'm running my own successful business. I have a life and I have a home. I don't need...
Oh, but you need a man to take care of you, don't you?
No. I need a man to take care of me. Excuse me. So I think at first he was surprised, and then now he's like proud.
Yes. Standing on your own 2 feet.
And it feels amazing.
Yes.
And not having to answer to a man, amazing. Sorry about it.
Where are you going today? What did you buy today?
I know,
What are you going to cook for dinner? Not having to answer those questions, right?
Oh my God. You know, and you can just go and spend your own damn money however you please, and you don't have to answer to anyone about anything.
Amazing.
I mean, I'm not promoting it, guys.
Look, we're not advocating for it. What we're advocating for is a healthy, equal relationship.
Yeah, equal.
Yes.
You know, he can cook, and why should I have to thank him for that? You know, why should I have to thank him to vacuum the house that he lives in? He's a grown-ass man, and he lives in this house. Mm-hmm. So, but these are things that happen, I think, worldwide. It's not, I don't know if it's a cultural thing. What do you think? Because I've spoken to a few of my Australian friends, and they also, patriarchy.
It's patriarchy.
Yep.
So it's basically the fact that, you know, men rule the world, essentially, and they have been suppressing women's rights for many, 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 many years. And it's just, you know, this thing about, oh, well, I did the absolute bare minimum, but I did more than every other man, so therefore you should thank me for it.
You need to acknowledge that. I'm like, well, you're just doing what you're meant to do.
Exactly.
Because I'm so sorry. I'm working. Mm-hmm. It's not like we're back in the 1950s where, you know, I'm home just with the kids and cooking and whatever, and you're working and you're tired. Although, you know, she's working at home technically. So, but, you know, times change and women are working, women are out there, and yet we're still not equals.
Yeah.
Women are still not equal to man.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I just, like, my brain, when you stop and you think about it, it's insane.
Well, I understand it though, because it's so deeply embedded into every aspect of society, everything.
Yep.
It's
Work,
unbelievable.
Yep.
Like just the littlest things, you would be so surprised just to see, oh, actually this is quite sexist towards women. Yeah. So anyway, we'll cover those in more depth.
There's
so much to tell you guys. What I did want to do is bring it back to, you know, this whole getting married really quickly and immediately thing, because something that I had to experience when I got married, obviously I had never gone away with my partner before. We'd never spent a night together because, you know, prim and proper, that's how it is. But, you know, we got married and that's the very first time that we spent time together. And there were a few surprises. So I guess what I'm wondering...
It's not what you're thinking.
No. Nothing too bizarre physically or anything like that, but... just some surprises that you weren't expecting, that you didn't find out until after you got married. So this is something I want to ask you guys listening, is send us through on Instagram. What were some of the surprises that you experienced after you got married?
Can I go first?
Yeah, of course.
Because yours is really good.
All right, sure.
Okay, so I came from a household, we came from a household. My dad did a lot around the house. Bless him, amazing guy. He would get breakfast ready every single weekend. That was his thing. So somehow my brain just assumed that this is what men do, right? This is what happened. My brother kind of caught on to the tradition, and if dad wasn't around or whatever, he would do it. So it was like, somehow I thought men just get the breakfast ready on the weekends. It's just, you know, give the mum a break or whatever. So I remember the day after I got married, the morning after, thinking I'm going to wake up to the smell of, Turkish sausages, sucuk, and eggs or something rather. And then at that point when I realized, oh shit, he's not going to do this for me, I felt a slap across the face and I was like, fuck. Mm-hmm. I married a man who is never going to get breakfast ready for me on the weekends. And then it was like, panic a little bit where you're like, oh shit, what have I gotten myself into?
Yeah. He set a precedent for the rest of your marriage, saying, I'm not going to do anything like this.
No. And he didn't.
Yeah, that was a big reality check for you, unfortunately, but you stuck it out for 12 years, so well done. Well done for surviving that.
Thank you.
Mine was a little bit more bizarre in terms of what I experienced. So I had my lovely, gorgeous grand wedding.
Sorry, can I just... It wasn't a little bit bizarre.
Okay, look, it's very bizarre. Look, it's going to shock you quite a bit. But hey, it's become so normal for me now that I can talk about it quite comfortably. So had my lovely grand wedding. We're flown out to a beautiful honeymoon destination. We went to New Caledonia. We stayed on one of those amazing water bungalows that overlooks the crystal blue waters. Everything was perfect. And we got there late. We went straight to bed because we were so exhausted. And then I am awoken at about 2 a.m. in the morning. It's about 2 o'clock in the morning. And I am woken up to screaming. So
even like that gives me chills.
yes. What I find myself in when I open my eyes is my new husband standing in the hallway of the place we're staying in. He is standing up, his eyes are open, and he's screaming, "Get out! Get out!" And he's screaming into the hallway, and I am taken aback. I'm like, oh my God, this is it. Someone's in here. We're going to die. That's it. My life's over. Because what would you have thought? You think someone's in the house. They're here to kill us.
And of course you didn't know, his condition.
I had no idea at the time. And I woke up saying, what the fuck is going on?
Terrifying.
I was freaked out. And then when I got up and I approached him and I saw there was actually nobody there. And then I touched him on the shoulder. I said, what's happening? And he woke up and said, huh? And I said, what? He said, are you okay? And I'm like, you were just screaming? What are you talking about? He goes, oh, was I? I said, what? Yeah. I'm sorry, are you a sleep talker? More of a screamer. Yeah, so that was a lovely surprise the first night of my honeymoon. And for the rest of the 7 days we stayed there, I didn't sleep at all. So, yeah, that was horrible. So,
and my question to her was, why didn't he tell you? And she said, what'd you see?
He didn't know.
She's like, but he didn't know.
He didn't know.
I'm like, how did he not know? Apparently he did not even know to the extent,
So he was aware, which he neglected to tell me anyway, that he was a sleep talker. He's like, oh, sometimes I sleep talk. It might just be, now and then. Apparently not, because 5 nights out of 7 a week, he would wake up screaming, startled, punching things. It was insane, Elle. Like, I can't tell you the level of anxiety I felt on my honeymoon. I couldn't enjoy it because I was terrified. I didn't want to go to sleep every night. Yeah. It was horrible. And when I got back to Melbourne, and did I march up to my mother-in-law and I said, excuse me. I said,
we love her.
We do love her. I love you. I said, excuse me, but you didn't tell me your son was a sleep talker. And she feigned this surprise. And she said, oh, didn't I tell you? And I said, oh, you sneaky, she sold me a lemon. She sold me a lemon of a husband. And I'm now married to that lemon for 3 years.
It's a good lemon.
No, he's a great lemon. I love the lemon. But look, we got it under control now. So we experienced it. I've experienced it, for every night for
and
2 years.
What was the problem? Because you actually went and you went.
So in the end, we found a sleep specialist. Yeah. We had a sleep studies done, and we diagnosed the issue as non-REM parasomnia, which is basically where just some electrical signals don't quite meet the pathway in the brain, something like that. But basically what we do now is we put him to sleep with some lovely sleeping tablets. So we basically drug him up so he cannot move.
Take your tablets.
Take your tablets. Take those tablets. So we basically dose him to a point where he is fast asleep and his body is like paralyzed so he can't even move.
See, I didn't know he was on the tablets. And when you guys came and stayed at my house, I was like, I need a lock on this door. What if this guy comes in and I've got kids? I was actually genuinely scared. I'm like, what if he just starts screaming in the middle of the night? Yeah. But the tablets do work. He was fine.
Yeah, look, that was a major surprise in my marriage. And it really impacted how I was feeling. I thought, what am I going to do? I'm now married to this guy. There's nothing wrong with him emotionally or physically. He has a sleeping condition, but I couldn't stop thinking, Elle, what am I going to do when I have a baby?
Yeah, because that's the one thing that you always brought up. Like, how am I going to have a baby?
He's going to wake up screaming.
You couldn't even listen to voice messages I sent to you, even though, once you put it on your ear, you can't kind of hear it. But you were like, no, he'll get startled by any little
movement, and he would wake up, and I would have to just calm him back to sleep. Come on, it's okay, back to sleep now.
What about the time you touched his leg?
Oh, okay. So I can't. If you know me personally, I can't wake people up, like even from a nap, by touching them or shaking them awake. Like, oh, come on, Elle, wake up. I won't do it.
So the other day, I sent Ruby out to wake our eldest sister, the real big sister, up, and she was unsuccessful. Anyway, so I went and woke her up. I shook her. I'm like, wake up, bitch. And then I'm like, Ruby, why didn't you wake her up? Like, how? She was like, I just couldn't. I'm like, but like, why? Just like, didn't you shake her? And she's like, oh no, I didn't touch her. So now, go on. You can tell the rest.
I can't do it. And the reason I can't do it is because I have post-traumatic stress from waking people up this way, specifically my husband, because the one time that I did, and it was one time only, the one time that I went and woke him up in the middle of the afternoon from a nap by shaking him just at his shoulder, and I was about 30 centimeters away from his head, and I said, "Oh, babe, wake up." And he opened his eyes and he looked at me for about 4 seconds.
Oh my God, that's so scary.
He looked me dead in the eye.
I'll die.
And he just went, ah, and he screamed in my face, eyes staring at me. And then I backed off and I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
And he said, oh, sorry, I didn't recognize you. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. And so, yeah, traumatized, guys. I am traumatized, scarred for life, and I would never shake you to wake you up.
So let's put a little thing on Instagram, I think. Like, what are the things that you found out after you were married? Well, look, this has been interesting, and we have so much to talk about. Divorce, custody. These are the things that people have been reaching out to us about, I think. And they just want to know, and people aren't talking about it, especially in the community. So that's what we're here to do. Talk about everything that you want to know.
But for now, it was really lovely to meet you all, and we really hope you enjoyed listening to this podcast and you got to know us a little bit better.
Yes, please share it with your friends, with your girlfriends, tag them, let them know what's happening. It's new, it's fresh, and it's going to be crazy.
And we want you to join in on the conversation. So until then, take care.
Bye.